Yo, what is up guys? Welcome to another deck profile, and today I'm gonna showcase you this Swordsoul Xianjiang. I'm gonna call it Swordsoul because I know I will butcher Xianjiang every time. And yeah, today I'm gonna showcase you deck which you have seen in the last replay video. And let's get straight into it, but actually, first of all, it would be really nice if you will comment, maybe even like, subscribe, because I mean, if nobody does it, it's like talking to yourself. But yeah, that's it. It would be really nice, and let's get straight into it. So first of all, I'm playing nearly every Xianjiang card at free. So actually, every card which I play of this archetype is at free in this deck, and for a good reason, because these cards are really good. So starting off with Long Yuan, it's like the extender of the deck because it can special summon from the hand. And yeah, for example, if your Muyi or Tei gets negated, you can just bring this out and do a little bit, at least something, you know. But without a doubt, the best monster is Muyi because it triggers on special summon. So if you special it with Ecclesia, it triggers. If you special summon it with the in archetype monster Reborn, it triggers. If you special summon it with Baxia, it triggers. So that's already really good. And its effect, actually, besides the token summoning effect, which is like the standard, it lets you draw a card if you synchro summon it. And the good thing about that is, even if like the first effect from Mui gets raided, you just can, if you have the opportunity, extend with instant fusion or maybe Ecclesia if you have summoned it before Mui, and go into level 8 and draw a card because of its effect. So Mui is really good, and the good thing about this drawing, it chain blocks Yugioh. Yugioh is also one of the best cards because it can search a card and you chain block it with a drawing a card. So if your opponent wants to ash you, he has to ash the effect which lets you draw a card, and you would rather have get that ash than Yugioh, and he most likely has to ash it because otherwise he won't get a use about from ash, you know. Then we played Tei. So basically how those work, they really complement each other because he triggers from hand, he on summon, and he on the field. So you can revive this also with the in archetype monster Reborn, and then activate this effect, banish a card, for example sudden shift, get another token on the field and a token because of this effect. And the second effect, it can foolish a card, for example a Tenyi or the trap again. Then we have free Ecclesia. Amazing card, astonishing card. It's really good. First of all, it has a Pancro Topsish effect. You can special summon it if your opponent controls more monster than you, which is really good because it's a free extender already. Second of all, it's a tuner level 4. It's also really good. And then it's just another copy of Tei or Mui, because you tribute it and special summon one of those. Both of those can do their stuff while being special out of the deck. Long Yuan is a card with triggers from the hand, like I said, so you wouldn't want to special summon him, but it's really good to have more copies of those. And yeah, the only downside about this card is that it's not an in archetype Swordsoul card, but it's still that great that you have to run it at free. Especially it synergizes really well with instant fusion, because if a fusion monster went to the grave, you can add back Ecclesia from the graveyard, which basically happens every time with instant fusion. So that's for the monster. For the spells, obviously run 3 times the searching spell, because why not? It's pretty redundant to explain that. But I also run 3 times the Reborn. I don't even want the usual monster Reborn, which you can do, but I decided to go with 3 of this because it has Xianjiang or Swordsoul in the name, which is actually important for Muyi and Long Yuan because you have to reveal or discard a Xianjiang monster. And why I also run it at 3 is because basically your optimal turn is summon Muyi, special card, go into Yugioh, add for example Long Yuan, and if you have already Tei and this Reborn in your hand, you're gonna discard Ti with the effect of Long Yuan and special summon it back with the Reborn card and use the effect of all of them and make a bunch of synchro summons, you know. Then moving up to most likely the MVP of the deck, Pot of Desires. Is just amazing in this deck. It synergizes so well with Xianjiang. It decreases your opponent's monster's attacks. It buffers your Xianjiang, which gets so big. It's just such a great card. Obviously it's a +1. You run 3 copies of the most important cards, so it's unlikely that every copy gets banished, you know, and that's why Desires is just great in this deck. Then for the hand traps, I just want 5. I think 3 Ash Blossom is just the standard. It's so generic. It basically is never dead in your hand. Therefore Ash at 3. 2 Ghost Spells. It's good in this meta currently, but you can change it for a card of your like, of your choice. But I like Ghost Spell. I have to admit, in some matchups it's kinda dead, but yeah, it's still the second most liked hand trap by me right now. You could also play Impermanent Veiler, but there's also a reason why I want those, because we can instant fusion into actually this shark, which is a level 5, and if we have a really bad hand, we can normal one of those, go into the shark and go for Yugioh. But yeah, it's a really desperate play, but it's a play, you know. Then we have a Tenyi packet, which I really find underrated. I like Tenyis in this deck. Ashuna gets you another body, so with Ashuna you can get 2 bodies on the field, which you can use with Droplet, so you have already 2 negations with Droplet just of 1 Tenyi, and maybe you bait also something out with the Tenyis, so it can also like reduce your opponent's card by 3 or interruptions by 3 instead of 2, and 2 is already really good. Then we have the shooter. The shooter is so amazing. Yes, going second, this card is so nice. The amount of times where the shooter got rid of an annoying floodgate or annoying last spell and trap is just countless. It's just that great, because there are floodgates which can really destroy this Swordsoul deck, but with the shooter you just, before doing anything, just with special summoning, you don't even give up your normal summon, you go just tag it out into Monk, bounce back a floodgate. It's really amazing. And one Adora. I really like these ratios. Adora adds back a banish card, which we happen to do a lot, banishing. And actually, if you saw my replays, I got appointed of the Red Lotus, and I was like, okay, now I'm gonna banish Adora, add my Moi back to hand, and that's it. So you basically wasted this card. Yeah, moving up to the extender, I play 1 Gold Sark. You will most likely banish Sudden Shift, get a token on the field, and yeah, it's just a good extender. For example, if your opponent uses token to collector, you can just activate this card again and get a token back, or if you destroy it with some other effect. Instant Fusion basically does the same thing, but it also synergizes with Ecclesia and has some more applications than Gold Sark. But the cool thing about Gold Sark is you actually get the card to your hand after 2 turns, which is okay, it's nice to have. But back to Instant Fusion, you know, you summon this card, it's a level 4 tuner, there you go, you can make Yugioh again with any level 4 Swordsoul card, or with Ecclesia. No, actually not, Ecclesia is a tuner, right. So back to the Call by the Grave, it's just really good against hand traps, I guess, and it really synergizes with Xianjiang. So, and that's a really important thing about this deck, to be able to control the timing of Xianjiang. So most likely you will have Yugioh for that, but sometimes your opponent baits out the negation before you can make full use of the banishing effects of Xianjiang. So having a Call by the Grave where you like manually can choose, okay, I now want to banish a card and trigger Xianjiang after that, is really good. And if you're wondering why I want especially this instant fusion targets, it's because they are water and enable me to go into Dragite, and yeah, use of generic effect, but we will talk about that a bit later. Then Sudden Shift, it's in my opinion amazing trap card, because I've always been a beloved Blackwing player, and I always like Icarus attack, and this is just a buffed Icarus attack, you know, especially with Xianjiang. It's so amazing. I've already mentioned you have a combination with Gold Sark or with Yugioh, you can bench this as well, get a token, and on top of that you have like the Icarus attack effect, which is just simply amazing. Combined with Xianjiang, you can get rid of like 4 cards. So you destroy Xianjiang, pop 2 cards, chain this effect, banish 1 card on the field and in the grave. It's just amazing. And Droplet is also just such an amazing card. Works well with Tennies or with dead hand traps or any dead card, to be honest. And if you somehow replay the Stormy, single-handedly Stormy just the game, my opponent had like 3 negations and I was like Droplet for free and let's go, negate and half the attack of your monster. Right, moving up to the extra deck, Baroness de Fleur. It's just needed. You require this card because it's so amazing. It can destroy a card every turn, and unfortunately just once it is up on the field you can negate a card effect, but that effect is just a generic negation, which is obviously good. But the important thing is, if you are really scared about Nibiru or of Nibiru, you can go first into this, which is kinda sketchy, though it's better to go into the level 8 first, but you can do it and have like a protection of Nibiru, which is really really good. Then we have Dragite. First of all, I really like his artwork. I mean, it looks amazing. It's crazy in Adamantimator, but it's actually good in this deck because we have Moyi, which is a water card, which enables the generic spell and trap negation, which is really cool because this card actually is a bit restricted, but we can use it. Then we have Tenyi, in my opinion also an underrated card, but it also looks amazing. Look at him, it looks like a beast on roids, man, and that's exactly what he does. He buffers himself up until unimaginable attack points. It can enable your OTKs and it can banish cards, so that's also a good effect. Against Eldritch, if you banish Golden Lord, I mean, they're a bit screwed, to be honest. Speaking about good cards, Baxia. Baxia is amazing, even though we most likely always go into Yugioh. Baxia is just so great because it can shuffle back. I mean, if there is a good effect in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's shuffling back cards, and he can shuffle back up to 2 cards, and so this effect on its own would make it a legitimate option for this deck, but it also can destroy not monster, just any card. So you can destroy any card and special summon, for example, Muyi, Ti, and go along with their combos, make plus and stuff. So Baxia is just amazing. And we have Omega. Omega is also really good because you know everybody knows what he does. You can get rid of a card which can be really crucial to your opponent, or maybe a hand trap, And what I really like about Omega is that the opponent doesn't have a chance to get rid of it in his turn. So you banish it and it's gone. And at the start of your turn you get it back and have a body on the field which can run over things without activating any effects, and sits on a 2.8 body, maybe give the last damage you needed. So Omega is, so please don't underrate just the existence of a card on your field, and that's what Omega does really well. We already talked about Yugioh. It negates an effect, it times Xianjiang and searches a card, so it's an amazing card. Also on a 2.8k body. Xianjiang, we also talked about him, he's just amazing. Decreases your opponent's monster and increases yours. It's just really good. And don't underestimate these attack points and defense points. They really come up, and Xianjiang is just amazing. Then I run like the Tenyi package. You can get rid of a monk. Most of the times one monk is absolutely enough, but sometimes you need the second one. And just threw it in because I needed the space. I didn't need more space. but you can actually get rid of one of them and add like a level 4 XYZ card, because we actually have options of instant fusion to go onto level 4s with the Xianjiang Reborn card, and like we have many level 4s, you know. And I also play Shaman because she just enables us to go into good monster which are on the grave, like Xianjiang with like Yugioh and stuff, you know. It just gives a bit options. Then we run this card, we already talked about it, and we already talked about them. Did I mention that I go with him and hand traps into level 8? Yeah, I did, right? So okay, moving up to the side deck. So basically what I always do, which you don't have to do but I really like it, divide it into going first section and going second section. So I play Nibiru and Pro because they're really impactful. Nibiru, so many decks are prone to Nibiru. If they get Nibiru, they're really kind of screwed, but nowadays some decks can play around it, but if Nibiru hits, it hits really hard, so therefore it's a no-brainer for me. Droll is kind of the same thing, but it's just like, at some decks they only search one time, you know, and after that Droll does nothing, or just really tiny things. But against other deck which exists of searching, you just slap the Droll on the field and end their turn, which is amazing. For example, Pendulum, and yeah, that's why he's in the side deck and not in the main deck. Main deck triple tactic sounds is a must-have for me, because you know, if your opponent lets you go second or first, or if you're going first, let's say it like that, you know your opponent will side hand traps. You just know it, and having triple tactic, like, to slap it in his face is just amazing. And the solemn package is just plus IO. I mean, if you open IO first turn, it's game against many decks. For example, Sky Striker, it just, you flip it up and you have just game. And Judgment Strike are also just amazing cards. You know, having a Judgment set is such a good feeling, because you know, regardless of what your opponent does, you can judgment it. Except he judgments you, but how he should do that if it's his first turn, you know. And Strike is just also a really good card. But yeah, that's it. That's for my deck profile. If you have any suggestions, if you have any comments, any questions, let me know. For example, one other good thing which I've seen is in my replay videos, by the way, some opponent run like the Destiny Fusion, you know, Fusion Destiny, that way around package with this deck, and it really synergizes well with Ecclesia, because basically you pop Phoenix Enforcer with his effect and pop a card of your opponent, so it goes into the grave, triggers Ecclesia, gets back to your hand, and then you can special summon Phoenix Enforcer again in your turn and do it over and over and recycle Ecclesia back every turn and pop a monster or any card from your opponent. But I decided to not run it because in my opinion it's a bit bricky. You already have like enough other cards in your deck, and I like it that way. But maybe you could cut the Tenny package and go with Fusion Destiny, but not sure about that. I like it that way. But if you have anything, just let me know. And yeah, that's it for the deck profile, and yeah, I will see you later. Bye.